Aries, take a breath and listen closely. If this found you right now, it's not by accident. Something heavy you've been carrying, something that kept you awake, questioning, overthinking, is quietly coming to an end. You may not see it yet, but behind the scenes, the energy has already shifted. You pulled back for a reason. You went quiet. You stepped away from the noise to survive. And in that silence, you changed. So, tell me, Aries, have you felt it lately? That subtle pressure lifting? That sense that something, or someone, is about to reveal their true colors? Stay with me, trust yourself. And if this resonates, let me know in the comments. Because what unfolds next changes everything. Aries, stay right here with me. Not because something is about to rush in, but because something is finally beginning to loosen its grip. I want you to notice this moment, the quiet one, the one where your chest doesn't feel as tight as it did before, where the noise in your head softens just enough for you to breathe again. You have been holding pressure for a long time, the kind that doesn't announce itself loudly. It just sits there, day after day, making everything feel heavier than it should. And I know there were moments when you wondered if this weight was permanent, if this was just how life was going to feel now, constantly carrying, constantly pushing, constantly staying strong for everyone else. But listen to me closely. That season is closing, not all at once, not dramatically, but naturally. Like a storm that runs out of thunder because it has nothing left to prove. What felt endless is slowly losing its power over you. What felt overwhelming is beginning to dissolve. And even if your eyes can't see it yet, something has already shifted behind the scenes. This is the part most people miss. The part where nothing looks different on the outside, but everything has changed underneath. Energy has moved. Doors you did not touch have quietly unlocked. Help has begun finding its way toward you without asking permission. You may not call it divine timing. You might just call it relief. But either way, it is real. You did not imagine the nights where your thoughts refused to settle. You did not exaggerate the pressure in your body. You did not overthink yourself into exhaustion for no reason. Every moment of faith you held on to, when it felt pointless, planted something. Every time you chose not to break when it would have been easier to collapse, you anchored strength deeper into your life. Nothing you invested emotionally was wasted. Not the tears, not the patience, not the quiet endurance. What is forming now is subtle, but it is steady. Support that arrives without noise. Opportunities that don't need to announce themselves. A sense that things are finally aligning instead of resisting you. This is not random. It never was. Your prayers were not ignored just because the answer took time. Sometimes the answer is not a moment. It is a process, one that reshapes you so that when relief arrives, you are ready to receive it without fear. And here is what matters most. You do not have to force anything anymore. You are allowed to exhale. You are allowed to stop bracing for impact. You are allowed to trust that the storm knew when to leave. So if you feel a strange calm creeping in, do not question it. If something inside you says the worst is over, listen. That voice is not wishful thinking. It is awareness. Stay with me, because once the pressure lifts, clarity follows. And what you begin to see next will explain everything you've been feeling. Aries, let me say this gently. What you did was not running away. It was instinct. There comes a moment when the soul knows it cannot keep explaining itself to the world. So it steps back. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just enough to breathe. You didn't disappear because you were weak. You disappeared because staying present in everything was costing you too much. The noise, the expectations, the constant pull to be strong, to respond, to hold space for others when your own space felt neglected. So you chose silence, and that choice saved you. In that quiet, something subtle began to happen. Your thoughts slowed down. Your nervous system softened. You started to notice what you had been ignoring for a long time. Not other people, yourself. You began sorting through your mind like someone opening old drawers. Some memories stayed, some beliefs no longer made sense. Some emotional weight was finally acknowledged instead of pushed aside. This wasn't isolation, it was recalibration. Your heart needed room to mend in private. Your spirit needed time without an audience. And even though it may have felt lonely at times, that solitude reshaped you in ways nothing else could. You learned how to listen again, not to opinions, but to intuition. You learned where your limits actually were, and more importantly, where they should have been all along. That inner work mattered more than you realize right now. Because what changes inside does not stay hidden forever. It prepares, it aligns, it waits for the right moment to reflect outward, and that moment is approaching. You might notice it first in small ways. A calmer reaction where there used to be anger, a pause where you once rushed to fix everything, a quiet confidence that does not need validation. This is proof. The solitude worked. You didn't just survive it, you integrated it. And there is something else I want you to understand. Stepping back allowed you to see who respects your space, and who only feels comfortable when they can access you freely. That awareness is not accidental, it is protection. The universe often pulls us into quiet phases before clarity arrives, not to punish us, but to sharpen our perception. You needed this distance to recognize patterns, to sense undercurrents, to feel what words never revealed. As within, so without. You have lived that truth. What shifted inside you is now preparing to shape your external world, your choices, your boundaries, your responses, and soon your environment will have no choice but to respond to the version of you that emerged from the quiet. So, if you ever questioned whether pulling away was the right decision, let that doubt go. It was necessary, it was intelligent, it was guided. Stay with me here, because when someone learns to see clearly in silence, they also learn to recognize truth when it finally steps into the light. And that is where the story begins to change. Aries, I want you to stay close to this moment. Not alert, not bracing, just present. Because while you were learning how to be still, life did not stop moving. It moved quietly, out of sight, in places you were never meant to monitor or control. You see, waiting does not mean nothing is happening. It often means something important needs privacy to take shape. Behind closed doors, things have been unlocking one by one, not with noise, not with announcements, but with intention. Paths you did not push open began to loosen on their own. Support you never asked for started finding its way toward you. Relief began forming before you even realized you were ready to feel it. This is how real alignment works. It does not rush you, it meets you where you are. I know there were moments when patience felt like punishment, when you wondered if holding faith was naive, when it seemed like everyone else was moving forward while you were standing still. But nothing you gave your heart to was wasted, not 1 ounce of effort, not one emotional risk, not one night where you chose hope over bitterness. Every moment of faith planted something, even the quiet ones, especially the quiet ones. Seeds do not ask for permission to grow, they respond to timing, to conditions, to readiness. And right now, Aries, something inside you is ready. You may feel it as a subtle shift, a sense that things are no longer stuck, a feeling that stability is possible again, even if the details are still blurry. Prosperity is forming, not just money, but ease, breathing room, a sense of safety in your own life again. Relief is forming too, the kind that does not come from fixing everything, but from knowing you no longer have to carry it all alone. And stability. Not rigid, not confining, but grounded. This is happening quietly because it needs to. Some things collapse if exposed too early. Some blessings arrive stronger when protected. You were not meant to force the outcome. You were meant to trust the unfolding. Patience is not empty time. It is active alignment. Every day you chose not to panic, you strengthened something unseen. Every time you resisted the urge to rush, you allowed the right pieces to line up. That is why this phase feels different, less desperate, less frantic. You are no longer chasing answers, you are allowing them to arrive. And soon, you will notice life responding in small, undeniable ways. A conversation that opens a door, an opportunity that feels steady instead of chaotic, a sense of being supported without needing to explain yourself. This is how patience pays you back, not all at once, but meaningfully. So if it feels like things are happening in the shadows, let them. If it feels like progress is subtle, trust it. Some doors are opening for you precisely because you stopped knocking. Stay with me. Because when movement begins quietly, it often leads to revelations that change how you see everything that comes next. Aries, I want you to trust what you felt. That subtle tension, that quiet tightening in your chest when nothing obvious was happening. It was not imagination, it was awareness waking up. There are moments when the soul senses a shift before the mind has language for it, a change in tone, a pause that feels heavier than silence, a look that lingers a second too long. You noticed it because you were meant to. Somewhere around you, admiration crossed an invisible line. It didn't announce itself. It didn't arrive loudly. It slowly changed temperature. What once felt supportive began to feel off, not hostile, just strained. And that is often how envy enters the room, not as anger, but as comparison, as quiet discomfort with your growth. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't change in a way that hurt anyone. You simply became more yourself. Your light expanded. Your freedom became visible. And for someone still living inside limitation, that can feel confronting. Words were spoken when you were not present. Small details adjusted. Stories reshaped just enough to serve someone else's insecurity. You felt it even without proof. That is intuition, not suspicion, not paranoia. It reached you from a distance because energy does not require proximity. It only requires truth, and here is what matters. This is not a reflection of your character. It is a reaction to your evolution. Some people admire growth until it reminds them of what they have avoided. Then admiration becomes comparison. And comparison, when unmanaged, turns into resentment. Let them talk. Not because they are right, but because noise loses power when it is not answered. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to correct every misunderstanding. You do not need to defend your integrity to those committed to misunderstanding you. Silence here is not weakness. It is discernment. Your fire does not need to burn everything it touches. Sometimes it simply needs to keep you warm while others reveal themselves. And notice something important. This tension appeared only after you changed, after you pulled back, after you stopped overgiving. That is not coincidence. When access is reduced, true intentions surface. When boundaries appear, respect is tested. You are seeing clearly now because you are no longer emotionally entangled. You are observing instead of reacting, feeling instead of fixing. This clarity is protection. You are not being asked to confront. You are being invited to witness. Let the truth speak through consistency. Let your calm become the contrast. Let your grounded presence expose what words never could. You do not owe energy to those who feed on reaction. You do not owe explanations to those who distort facts. You do not owe peace to anyone who disrupts it. And if you feel the urge to respond rising inside you, pause, breathe. Notice where that impulse comes from. Is it truth wanting expression? Or is it ego wanting resolution? There will be a moment for clarity, but it will not be rushed. It will not be loud. It will arrive when everything is aligned. For now, observe, stay steady. Trust what you feel without letting it harden you. Because awareness is not meant to make you suspicious. It is meant to make you sovereign. Stay with me here. Because once you recognize the source of the tension, you also begin to understand why certain connections are about to change in ways that finally make sense. Aries, let us talk about the part that stings quietly. Not because of what was said, but because you let it reach you. That is the ache you keep circling back to. The moment you realize these were not strangers passing through your life. These were familiar faces, shared rooms, shared history, shared space that once felt safe enough to soften your guard. You trusted because that is how you love, fully, without keeping score. You opened doors because you believed connection should not require armor. And normally, you are not like this. You are clear, direct, fearless with boundaries. You know when to step forward and when to stop someone at the line. But this time, something was different. You stayed open longer than usual. You explained more than necessary. You gave access where silence might have protected you. That does not make you foolish. It makes you human. You were hoping familiarity would equal respect. You were hoping closeness would mean care. You were hoping that shared history would create understanding. When it did not, the disappointment turned inward. You replayed moments. You questioned your judgment. You wondered how someone so aware could miss the signs. Here's the truth I want you to hold gently. You did not fail yourself. You learned something essential about where your generosity belongs. There are environments where boundaries blur easily. Homes, family spaces, close circles where expectations go unspoken and assumptions quietly grow. In those places, trust is often given automatically, not because it is earned, but because it feels natural. And sometimes, that is where the deepest lessons arrive. You are not being asked to harden. You are being asked to refine. Awareness is not shame. It is power returning to your hands. You are allowed to forgive yourself for staying open too long. You are allowed to release the guilt of knowing better now. Growth often arrives after we offer more than was deserved. What matters is not the access you gave, it is the clarity you gained. You now know how it feels when your boundaries are crossed softly, without conflict, without confrontation, just enough to create discomfort. That awareness will guide you differently from here on, not with walls, but with discernment. You will notice where your energy is welcomed and where it is merely consumed. You will sense when presence is mutual and when it is taken for granted. This does not close your heart, it aligns it. Forgiveness here is not about excusing behavior, it is about releasing yourself from self-blame. You trusted because you were acting from truth. That matters. And something shifts when you stop punishing yourself for having a generous spirit. You begin to stand taller, quieter, more selective without becoming cold. You carry this lesson forward without bitterness. Without needing to explain it to anyone, you simply adjust. Stay with me for a moment longer, because when trust is refined, not withdrawn, it changes how the body responds. It changes where tension lives. It changes what you hold and what you finally let go. And as that awareness settles deeper, you may start to notice how your body has been trying to speak on your behalf all along. Aries, come a little closer to this truth, because your body has been having this conversation long before your mind caught up. What you carried did not stay emotional. It traveled, it settled. It found places to live inside you. Those nights where sleep slipped away without explanation. The moments you woke around 3 in the morning, heart alert, mind restless. That was not random. That was your system asking for space. Your jaw tightened because you held back words that wanted air. Your neck and shoulders grew heavy because you carried responsibility that was never meant to stay there. Headaches arrived when frustration had nowhere else to go. Your body has memory. It remembers every moment you chose peace over truth. Every time you swallowed a reaction to keep harmony. Every time you stayed quiet to avoid conflict. Those unspoken words did not disappear. They found form. And this is not a failure of strength. It is the cost of containment. Fire signs like you are built for movement, for expression, for truth that travels outward instead of turning inward. When fire is blocked, it does not extinguish. It overheats. You may have told yourself you were being patient, that staying calm was the mature choice. That silence was safer. But your body knew the difference between peace and suppression. It tried to tell you in subtle ways at first. A tight breath, a restless night, a dull ache that came and went. When it was not heard, it spoke louder. This is not your body working against you. It is your body working for you. It is asking you to release, not explosively, not dramatically, but honestly. Calm. Expression is not the same as silence. Conscious release does not require conflict. It requires truth. You are allowed to name what hurt without assigning blame. You are allowed to feel anger without becoming it. You are allowed to speak without burning bridges. Your body does not want chaos. It wants alignment. Notice how tension softens when you admit something to yourself. Notice how your breath deepens when you stop pretending everything is fine. That is healing beginning. You do not need to relive the past. You need to acknowledge it. The body responds to honesty faster than the mind does. The moment you stop hiding from yourself, it begins to relax its grip. This is why your awareness now feels sharper. Why you are less willing to tolerate what once felt manageable. Your body has set a new boundary. Listen to it. Rest is not laziness. It is integration. Sleep will return when your system feels safe again. Your jaw will loosen when words find their rightful place. Your shoulders will drop when responsibility is shared or released. This is not something to rush. It unfolds gently when you choose yourself without guilt. And as your body begins to trust that you will no longer ignore its signals, it stops shouting. It starts whispering again. Stay with me here. Because once the body begins to release, the heart follows. And when the heart opens without tension, the truth that has been waiting inside you finally finds the right moment to be spoken. Aries, this is the moment where the air changes. You can feel it before anything is said. A shift in the room, a pause that lasts just a breath longer than usual. This is where everything turns, not because you planned it, not because you wanted confrontation, but because truth has its own timing and it does not stay buried forever. Christmas carries a strange kind of honesty. People gather, walls lower, Old patterns surface without asking permission. What was once avoided suddenly stands in the open, waiting to be acknowledged. It may happen in a living room, around a table, or behind a closed door when the noise fades and the moment feels unavoidable. A conversation you sensed coming finally arrives, and yes, it feels uncomfortable. Not sharp, not explosive, just heavy enough to demand presence. This is not the kind of dialogue that can be skipped, but it is also not one you need to fear, because you are no longer the version of yourself that reacts from wounds. You are standing in clarity now, grounded, aware, watching instead of bracing. The most important thing here is how you speak, not what you say, but where it comes from. This is not the moment for impulse, not the moment for proving anything, not the moment to match someone else's tone. Calm is your strength here. Temperance is not restraint, it is mastery. When you speak slowly, truth carries weight. When you stay centered, words land where they need to. When you refuse to escalate, the contrast becomes visible to everyone in the room, and they will see it, not because you explain yourself perfectly, but because energy does not lie. Your steadiness exposes what chaos never could. You may notice something surprising. As the conversation unfolds, pressure leaves your body, your breath deepens, your voice stays even. This is how you know you are aligned. You are not trying to win, and yet you do. Because dignity speaks louder than defense, because self-control reveals character, because calm carries authority. Others begin to understand without being told. They recognize where truth lives. They feel the difference between grounded clarity and emotional noise. And when it ends, something important happens. You walk away lighter, not triumphant, not drained, just clear. There is no need to replay the words afterward, no urge to justify yourself, no lingering tension in your chest. Peace returns quietly, naturally, as if it was always waiting on the other side of honesty. This conversation does not take anything from you. It restores something, your sense of self, your inner balance, your trust in how you handle moments that once felt intimidating. Christmas may feel intense in this way, but intensity does not mean harm. Sometimes it is simply truth stepping into the light. And you are ready for it, because you have done the work, you have listened, you have healed, you have learned when to speak and when to stay still. As this chapter settles, notice how strength feels different now. Less loud, more rooted, less about control, more about presence. Stay with me just a little longer, because after truth is spoken and peace is restored, something even deeper begins to unfold. And what comes next is not about confrontation at all, but about how you choose to move forward from a place of quiet power. Aries, notice how quiet it feels now. Not empty, clear. What just happened did not weaken you, it refined you. There were attempts to disturb your peace, subtle ones, carefully timed ones, but they did not land the way they used to, because you did not meet them from the same place. You stayed grounded, you stayed present, and in doing so, their actions folded back in on themselves. That is how balance restores itself, not through force, not through revenge, but through alignment. When you stop reacting, truth has room to breathe. When you stop chasing validation, justice moves on its own. You may not see anyone admit fault, you may not hear apologies, but you will feel the shift. The weight lifts, the tension dissolves, the energy around you changes. That is justice too. You are leaving this chapter different, not hardened, but clearer, emotionally lighter because you no longer carry what was never yours to fix, stronger because you trusted yourself through uncertainty, protected because your boundaries are no longer theoretical. They are lived. This Christmas may feel intense when you look back on it, not because of conflict, but because of release. Something old ends here, quietly, decisively. You are not losing people. You are losing illusions. You are not losing connection. You are losing distortion. What remains is real, and what is real no longer drains you. There is a deep dignity in how you walk away now. Not in triumph, not in bitterness, just in self-respect. You do not need to explain your growth. You do not need to justify your distance. You simply move forward carrying less. And that is freedom. Your spirit feels steadier because it no longer has to stay alert. Your heart feels safer because it is no longer overextended. Your mind feels quieter because it finally trusts your intuition. This is what reclamation feels like. Not dramatic, not loud, but unmistakable. You reclaimed your energy, your time, your sense of direction. And once that happens, life responds differently. The right people feel closer. The wrong dynamics fade without effort. Opportunities meet you instead of testing you. This is not a reward for suffering. It is a response to awareness. You saw clearly. You chose wisely. You stayed aligned even when it would have been easier to react. That matters. And now, as this chapter settles into memory, let yourself rest in what you know. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not missing anything meant for you. What left had completed its role. What remains is aligned with who you are becoming. This is not punishment. It never was. This is clarity. Earned through patience, protected through self-trust. This is alignment. The quiet kind that changes everything without asking for permission. From here on, things feel lighter because you finally see. And when you see clearly, Aries, you walk forward without carrying what was never meant to follow you. Aries, before you go, pause with me for just a moment. Because if you stayed until the end, this message didn't just speak to you. It found you at the exact moment you were ready to hear it. What you've been through was not small, and the clarity you've gained did not come by accident. You saw what needed to be seen. You released what could no longer walk with you, and without forcing anything, you stepped back into your own power. That is not ordinary. That is awakening. If something in this message touched you, if you felt seen, understood, or quietly validated, I want you to honor that feeling. Leave a comment. Share what resonated. Your words might be exactly what another Aries needs to hear tonight. And if you're not already part of this space, subscribe. Not just for predictions or messages, but for the reminder that you're not walking this path alone. This is a community of Aries learning how to trust themselves again. Learning how to choose peace without losing fire. Learning how to evolve without losing heart. Trust yourself, Aries. That inner knowing you've been listening to lately, it's real. And it's only getting stronger. The journey doesn't end here. This was just one layer. The next message is already forming, and when it arrives, you'll recognize it the same way you did this one. Until then, stay grounded, stay honest, stay open, and remember, everything feels lighter now because you finally see. I'll meet you in the next message.